You may or may not be familiar with the work of Scott Adams. You're probably more familiar with his work than his outspoken conservatism, but he is the creator of Dilbert and several other successful New York Times best-selling novels. But on July 1st, he sent out a series of tweets. If Biden is elected, there's a good chance you will be dead within a year. Republicans will be hunted. It seemed a little extreme at the time, because look at the top replies to this. R.L. Burke, I'm disappointed in you, Scott. We Democrats all have Republicans in our families, and we love them. We won't hunt you. We'll work to give you better health care options. We'll work to ease your student debt. This tweet is irresponsible. Or Alex Ullman, Scott Adams officially jumps the shark. Or blue check mark, oh Alan Noble. This is so delusional, I'm concerned about you. Well, one of the 4 tweets have aged very well, and 3 of them read as denials of reality. Portland suspect waited in garage before shooting pro-Trump protester, court documents. Yeah, I did a couple of videos on the shooting of Aaron Danielson. Michael Reinoehl, that piece of shit right there, was hiding and actively hunted for Trump supporters, and Chandler Pappas and Danielson right there. They just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time because this delusional asshole just wanted to kill a Trump supporter. Now, you're thinking, oh, Scott, you said Republicans would be hunted. Well, yesterday, conservatives shot and killed by NBC News affiliate security guard at Patriot Rally in Denver. A shooting in Denver on Saturday afternoon in a BLM Antifa soup drive has left a conservative demonstrator dead, whom police say was shot and killed by a security guard hired by NBC News affiliate 9 News. So now the media can go from saying that they just stoke the flames of hate, and now they have actively led to the death of somebody. Terrific. You hire somebody who has several posts and has a history of leftist activity, and now because your negligence, because you bootlick for Antifa, your News 9 organization has led to the death of a conservative. Hopefully you are held to account for this terrible, terrible, negligent act. The shooting, which was caught on multiple live streams and shared on social media, involved a man participating in what was billed as a patriot rally of conservative Trump supporters. The rally was organized by John Teagan, a right-wing social media figure. Conservatives carried banners that mocked communism and chanted slogans of support of the police. What is bad about that in a free society? Nothing, but unless you are... We'll get to more on the shooter here shortly. Left-wing activists showed up to counter-protest the event with a competing event dubbed the BLM Antifa Soup Drive. And as you can see, once again, this is a leftist tactic of hiding behind a very agreeable thing to do. Oh, we're just doing a soup drive. And guess what? It was just a way that you could show up and cause violence, because wherever BLM and Antifa go, they always cause violence. Literally, I can't think of any gathering, any rally that Antifa, BLM, they are inexorably linked. Fair enough. Where the rally has gone off without a hitch. Cite the source. I'd love to hear it. But the event quickly turned violent because the sky is blue and the grass is green, as left-wing activists faced off against conservatives. The Denver Post initially reported that the right-wing protesters allegedly sprayed mace at a Black Lives Matter supporter who retaliated by fatally shooting him with a handgun. The police arrested 2 men almost immediately after the shooting occurred in scenes captured on live stream. Now, see, once again, that is an initial report that ended up being complete horseshit. Just like, I don't know, every single shooting, every single death in the past, I don't know, of 2020. We'll just simplify it that way. So one of the accounts from the live stream was, one person was telling the other, go ahead, mace me, bro, mace me. What are you gonna do? Why don't you mace me? More pushing, a burst of orange mace erupts, and a bang, one single shot, he wrote. The larger man fell backwards, and the shooter held his hands and gun up in the air. Police rush in, arrest the shooter, and surround the body on the ground. They then clear everyone out, and that's when I left. According to the Denver Post, the 2 groups faced off in competing rallies around the Civic Center. As the rallies grew, members of the 2 groups confronted each other With shouts while police stood by, a left-wing protester burned a thin blue line flag in front of the officers to taunt them. Because these idiots think that they can get away with murder. And thanks to pussy attorney generals, yeah, that actually is seeming to be more and more the case. So now we have information on the shooter. Who was he? Victim, security guards suspected in fatal shooting during Denver protests are identified. Police identified a 30-year-old man as a suspect in a fatal shooting during dueling protests Saturday in downtown Denver. Matthew Robert Dolloff remained in jail Sunday without bond on suspicion of first-degree murder in the shooting, jail records show. Yeah, that's him right there. And we have clear pictures of him shooting. There was the description from the Reddit post that I read. You can see one casing up in the air. That's the victim. And there's Matt there. And there's the aftermath. So I don't think you need to say suspect. Dolloff was working as a private security guard for Denver television station 9 News when the shooting occurred, the television station had said. Denver police arrested Dolloff on suspicion of shooting and killing a man after a confrontation at the protest downtown. Photos of the incident show a man slap Dolloff and use pepper spray near the Denver Art Museum. Dolloff then shot the man, according to the photos. Police detained Dolloff at the scene. The man who died has not been named publicly by officials, but his son identified him as Lee Keltner in an interview with the Denver Post on Sunday. Lee Keltner, 49, was a Navy veteran who ran a hat-making business in the Denver area for many years, his son Jonathan Keltner said. He wasn't a part of any group, Jonathan Keltner said. He was there to rally for the police department, and he'd been down there before rallying for the police department. So yeah, is it fair to say that conservatives are being hunted now? That leftists will try any sort of tactic out there? They will be contracted by security groups like this guy was for the Pinkerton security company that 9 News used. 9 News has a past of running cover for Antifa, as well as one of their long-standing meteorologists compared federal troops earlier this year to Nazis. And it's unclear whether he stepped down or if he was fired for making that remark, but they are an NBC affiliate who likes to, well, gaslight the public like most other mainstream news in order to push the fiery but mostly peaceful narrative out there. But initial reports out there was that Dolloff was affiliated with Antifa, and it was pretty easy to believe it would be one of those narratives that you'd be likely to believe. But I also did some digging on his Facebook page, on his Twitter page. He's been inactive on both for most of the time. It seems prior to the pandemic hitting, he was just using his Facebook page to just post animal pictures, to just he's running his own business to sell honey, and it was rather non-political, just kind of middle-of-the-road milquetoast ideas that everyday normal people have. And then the last couple posts that were on there were kind of doomery prognostications of what was going to happen with the pandemic. Oh, you know, we're so locked up, we're so scared. And then the final one was eulogizing a left-wing talking head of a very prominent YouTube show. And we're going to get into that because I think it's very important to understand that this guy was absolutely radicalized, because you take a look at everything that he was posting in the past and nothing really had to do with politics. It was all just cute pet videos and buy my honey at this location. I'm a small business owner, and he's, a married guy. There was nothing there in the past that would lead you to believe that he would be shooting somebody in cold blood. So he was eulogizing this man in his post. Michael Brooks, political commentator and podcast host, dies at 36. Michael Brooks, a progressive political commentator and co-host of the Majority Report podcast, died of a sudden medical condition, the show announced on Twitter Monday. He was 36 years old. Brooks was a regular co-host of the Majority Report with Sam Cedar, and in 2017 he launched the Michael Brooks Show on YouTube. Jacobin, a communist magazine where Brooks was also a contributor, described the show as a radicalizing force for a huge number of mostly young people who were rightly contemptuous of the political establishment but only beginning to discover alternatives. Now, it said in the article here that Jacobin is a liberal magazine, but I have the front page of Jacobin pulled up. And guess what it is all about? It is all about communism, and it has been ever since its founding. The disaster of privatized banking in Mexico. At the vice presidential debate last night, no one mentioned defunding the police. You don't believe me? Here's their raison d'etre, their mission statement. Jacobin is a leading voice of the American left, offering socialist perspectives on politics, economics, and culture. The print magazine is released quarterly and reaches 60,000 subscribers in addition to a web audience of over 2 million a month. Yeah, so don't just take my word for it. We will always show the truth. We will always show the proof. Everything else that you could glean from what Matt believes is he was a staunch Bernie supporter, and he really doesn't have any sort of Black Lives Matter Antifa markings on his person. He's just dressed in all black, probably because that was the dress code for the Pinkerton security force that he was hired for to work for 9 News. The only thing that is significant about an outward persona is that tattoo right there. Now, other people have done research into what that tattoo means, and it is in reference to his burgeoning DJ career. And hopefully he can spin dicks as well as he spins vinyl after he does a stint in prison. So no, this was just a run-of-the-mill leftist who is having his mind radicalized by leading left-wing pundits. This is very troublesome. This goes from being, okay, afraid of the mob, afraid from the riots that happen nightly in large cities in Portland and Seattle. This goes to, okay, you could look like anybody out there, but if somebody thinks that you aren't on their side, if you are just expressing any sort of patriotic views, you are liable to be hunted and shot down. And now that we are getting closer to the election, that is going to become more commonplace, and I fear that this won't be the last time that I report on a random shooting, because this was just a guy. Lee Keltner was just a veteran, a conservative guy who rallies, who makes fucking hats. The most innocuous profession you could probably have, because everybody loves hats. Fuck. From yarmulkes to big, stupid, over-the-top foam cowboy hats, everybody loves a good goofy hat. And I'm not going to say we're heading towards a civil war, because these are just one-off situations, but it's spreading outside of these major liberal centers. And I know Colorado's been fucked by the outpouring of Californians in the past decade or so. No, the entire point of this video is to show you that radicalization doesn't mean that you just show up to a Black Lives Matter and Antifa militia and cause shit. It's these people that are also harboring these terrible intentions and not expressing their ideas properly. I hope this hunk of shit is persecuted to the fullest extent of the law, because what he did is inexcusable. And that's all I got on this one, guys. Until there's more information that comes out, hopefully we'll know a little bit more in the coming days, but this just looks like an act of cold-blooded murder, to be plain and simple. So I appreciate the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo, and I want you guys to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.